Jason's Electronics Repair. This is me, Jason, and welcome to my ER. How's it going? We're going to work on a Nintendo Switch. I have the new computer all set up and going here. So I have the Stream Deck semi set up. I'm still having some issues with one of my screens. I hope my audio is good, and we are going to attempt to fix a Nintendo Switch here. So here we go. We got Switch number 1011. This is a bad charger port switch here. We're going to get its home out of the way. And we are going to take a look at this. So we will look under the Annenstar scope to take a look at this charge port here. So if I go, there we go. Sorry, still working out the kinks. It goes black and cracked screen. So this is the charger port. I don't know why my camera did that to me, but I'm still working out the kinks with the new computer. So this is the switch here. So we're gonna go back to this screen here. Let me get my cloth here, and we're gonna go ahead and take this apart. So this came from eBay, and we are gonna take this apart with our tri-wing and our Phillips head screwdriver. So we're gonna get this apart here. We're gonna see if we can't get this charger port off and see what's wrong with this. These screws look nasty. Look like they have a little bit of water damage on it. Let me show you one of these screws real quick. So this is what the screws look like. So they look pretty nasty, dirty. I'll swap these out for better screws, but you know, what can you do? So let's see if I can come in a little bit closer here. This was giving me some focusing issues on the gray mat alone. We'll see if it does the same thing. Water damage indicator's not tripped. We'll try these tweezers of Phil's here to pull off this pad. So it's just dirty. I don't see any water damage or anything. So we're gonna go ahead and unhook this battery. We're gonna unhook the battery. I don't want to test this or anything until I get it taken out here. So I'm going to turn on my hot air. Hopefully it's set to, why is that set to 480? So I'm setting it to 125. So that's how I remove the phone tape at 125. I have this slide I made here that shows all the different temperatures I use, but this removing this foam is not on here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lift up here. I'm just going to heat this up here to loosen that tape or the foam. Now I've seen Phil the coder do this at a higher temperature, but this seems to work for me. Everybody does things in their own way. There we go. I find at 125 the sticker is a little bit more re-stickified. We're going to use that. We're going to use re-stickified. So let that sit there. We're going to get this thermal compound off of here. So throw this away here. All right. Now, I do a little bit slower than some people, but I do get the job done. So let's see here. All right, we're going to take this the rest of the way apart. I put my screwdriver away. So we're going to take off this. Well, that port is wedged in there because it's bent and it's broken here. Yeah, that thing was all bent up and the plastic is a little bit mangled. Looks like the little alignment tab may be broken too, so that might be a little bit more difficult to get in there. So let's do an inspection of the board here. There we go. So let me see here. Let me get on M92. All right, so there's M92, looks pretty good. Just scan around this board here. We'll do some tests after I pull that port. It's kind of weird looking coil. That coil looks different. That coil looks different than what I've seen before. Looks like a different coil. Looks like it might have been replaced. I don't know. Let's take a look up here by this connector here. And a little something on these inductors here. See, this has got weird inductors on it too. The inductors normally don't look like this, and that solder looks real shiny. So it's got these weird inductors on it. Everything looks good. This might be a really new revision. What's the board on this? CPU 20. Solder looks just so shiny. It's hard to see, but that solder looks really shiny. This is behind the battery connector, fuel gauge chip, and that port's nasty. Look at that thing busted up. So P13 looks okay. The audio codec. Max IC. This is the anti-piracy chip up here. That's the anti-piracy chip. It's married to the board. Not sure what that is. Assuming that's power for something. Yeah, that's a power management. That's a power circuit for something. And there also little chips here. So, all right. So there's visual inspection of the board. The only thing I see damaged on there is the port. So we are going to remove that port. That is what we're going to do. We're going to pull that port right off of there to 480 at 100 out of 120. I'm going to get some flux. I'm going to add some flux here. Now, with as mangled as that port is, I am half expecting to see pads pulled on this port. Not by my doing, but when pins are normally jammed that far into the so I'm going to take my nozzle off of my hot air, and I'm going to get my ceramic tweezers. I'm going to grip onto the port like so, And I'm going to pull this port. So I'm going to turn on the fume extraction here. So as I get it in position. Now, I don't know what this is going to sound like because I haven't used it with the new setup yet. So hopefully that's not too bad sound-wise. So, all right. So we're going to come in here. We're going to pull this port here. Oh. All right, we lifted it. I don't see any pads. All right, we're going to let that cool down, and then we're going to take a look. I don't see any pulled pads, but actually, I don't know. That's hard to tell. I'm going to keep the port over there. I'm going to turn off the fume extractor, and we're going to go right under the AM scope. Right under the AM scope. Oh, don't tell me that's pulled pads. No, it's not, I don't think. I think that's just oxidized. Yeah, I think that's oxidized pads. Could be pulled. Let's look at the bottom of the port here. They could be pulled. Yeah, they could very well be pulled. So, oh man, with pins like that, there's really not a whole lot you can do. Turn on my FX 951. Get my fume extractor back up here. And a little bit of flux here. Okay, they were just oxidized. We'll add leaded to these grounding pegs here. All right, so I got the meter on. I don't know if the meter is going to work on the screen. So let's put it in continuity mode here. Okay, so the meter is not going to be on the screen until I work that out. True. All right, so we're just going to listen for the beeps. It's going to beep. Hopefully, oh, I don't know if you're going to hear that beep. All right. Hopefully you hear the beep. So we're going to go back under the scope here. That board's cooled down. So I'm going to go back under the scope. And we are going to check M92 with continuity mode here. And we are going to check these 3 caps. That would be a short. No short there. Okay, this one right here is a dead CPU, and that one's good. P13 looks good. Okay, so that's those. We will check this fuse down here. Fuse is good. We'll check this filter while we're here. Good. Good. And we will come over here and we will check this weird looking coil. So, coil's good. We'll come back over here to ground. I can never remember what these caps are, which is the signal and which is the. So I just check to make sure one side. I don't get a lot of BQ stuff. So, all right. So that side looks good. Let's flip it over and check P13 in the filters. All right. That's good. Good. All right, so everything tested all right. So sorry it's not on the screen. And let's get set up for a new port here. Before I do that, I'm going to clean this old burnt nasty flux off for a second because I got to wick those pads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get and we will go under the Andon Star scope this time because I can see better with room to work to wick the pads and stuff. So we'll get that on the screen, hopefully. Yep, there it is. So there is the other scope. So I tend to use both scopes. So we have our massive iron here. We will solder the tip here. All right. We will come in here. We will add a little bit of solder to that ground pad, that ground pad, that ground pad, and that ground pad. So all right, I'm going to switch back to my other tip and just make sure I have enough solder on those pads. I just want to make sure I have enough solder on those pads. Now mine doesn't beep because I turn it off because it takes like 2 seconds. I don't leave it on to howl like an animal. So all right, so I'm gonna come in here and we're just gonna definitely add some flux to that. All right, so we got that on there. We're gonna clean that up again. Burnt flux. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a port out of my box. So what I've been doing is I've been tinning the bottom of these ports. I got that from Micro Mage Repair. He's another YouTuber. He does a good job. And I find that tinning the port seems to help. So now let's use this iron. I'm going to switch you over to the AM scope so I can tin this port real quick. So there we go. So I'm just going to tin these pads here. So I'm just going to tin these pads. Turn the port a little bit. All right, so we got the pads tinned. Just going to clean that a little bit. Alright, so let's go back to this scope. Whoa, double scope, got my board set up, ready to go. So I'm going to put my air down to 440. Same airspeed, 100 out of 100 out of 120. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to heat this up with no nozzle here. Let that get up to temperature. Adding some flux. And let us see if we can't get those things to melt us for us. Want to see those pads go shiny? Almost there. Alright, now I'm going to drop the port on. Add a little bit more heat. Hold that down. Hopefully that was a good sit. I'm not sure. So we'll let that cool down. Check to see if these pins are moving. Yep, the pins are moving. I want to see what that looks like. I might have to reheat this if that's too high. Well, I might just have to touch those pins up a little bit. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to touch those up. Where's my port at? So I'll come in here, add a little bit of flux. Just going to touch these pads up here. Alright, I'm going to let that cool down. Well, I'm going to hit these two ground legs right here. Just so I anchor the port. Alright, so I just hit a little bit on those two ground legs to anchor the port. I'm going to let this cool down and I'm going to talk to you guys for a minute. Port looks good. I'm going to get this cleaned up a little bit. I know I still have to do the ground legs, but I want to make sure it worked. I tacked two of them in place, so it should be fine for testing. I'll pull it out and I just want to see if it draws a current with the battery on both sides. Alright, so get that cleaned out, get a little bit of compressed air. Alright, hook a battery up and hope and pray. I'm gonna get my charger, boom, charger. My test battery that has been tested on many units. And we're going to plug it in this way. Do we get power? We get power! What do we get? Oh, 0.22, 0.147. That's a little low. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That battery can't be that dead to slow charge like that. Okay, maybe that battery is dead. We'll check in a second. Let's try it this way. And it does charge the same slow charge current. So let's go ahead and do a couple tests here with it plugged in. And I got flux on my fingers. That's always fantastic. I know why people wear gloves. All right, so I'm going to pop my meter on volts DC. Sorry, you guys can't see it. So we're going to put our black probe on ground. We're going to just check the battery real quick. So the battery is at 4.1 volts. So this is definitely too low of charging current. So we're going to check this probe right here. And we're getting 4.19 volts. So it's getting full charging current or charging voltage. Maybe because the battery is too full, it's giving me it's actually slow charging because it's almost full completely. So we're going to go with that hope and dream. I doubt it. I doubt this is going to work. So we will. Wow, is that broken too? What is broken too? Wow, that stinks. Another heat shield broken. All right, so I got flux and stuff down there, so I want to put this down for sure. All right, we're going to hook this up. So, wow, this case is busted up bad. This is going to need a case replacement. So, if this even works. And let us plug in the charger. Let's see what happens. And we got 1.8. No light on the screen yet. That battery could be extremely dead. I'll touch the power button. If that draws any more current. Does not have diode arrays, so that could be an issue. So yeah, this is slow charging hardcore. Let's check this battery voltage and see what this battery voltage is. So this battery is at 2.9 volts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to unplug this battery. And I'm going to plug in my test battery and see if it turns on. So I'm going to plug in my test battery here. Because I know my test battery is charged. So we're going to see if it turns on. Yes, it does turn on with a test battery. So let's see what it does. But it doesn't stay on. Huh. Goes to Nintendo and then goes off. Let's watch it again. So it goes to Nintendo and shuts off. This may be in some kind of RCM mode here. So it doesn't get me a charging symbol on the screen. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so this one is going to require research and testing I cannot do on this stream. Yeah, so this just pops the Nintendo logo. It only slow charges. And it could be in RCM mode. Could very well be in RCM mode. Let's try something here. Really hope this was going to turn into a fix. Let's hold this. Let's hold the power button and the hold button. It won't go into recovery mode. Could have a damaged CPU. Let's get pressure on that CPU. No, pressure on the CPU is not going to do it. Okay, so I'm not sure on this one. Could have a bad CPU. It could need a CPU reball. I need to thoroughly check my notes. I know the casing is real bad. So this one may get a CPU reball, or I have seen that before and a CPU reball fixed it. But it could also be the NAND needing reballing. It could be a connection issue on a lot of different things. So, but it slow charges, and it just pops the Nintendo logo, and then it turns off. It doesn't boot loop. It actually physically turns off after the Nintendo logo. So, let me think here. Let me just think this through here. Yeah, with the logo off and then off, it's a CPU. But it makes me think that it just maybe I could refloat the CPU, and if I refloat the CPU, that might actually fix it instead of having to reball it. I have a stencil for it, and I've done a couple practice reballs, but that's going to be a separate video entirely. So I'm going to end this stream here. I will follow up in a video form on this. I'll go over what I did. I mean, all I did was change the port, and then I will see if a CPU reflow works on this or if it needs to be pulled and reballed. So this is something for the future. Well, I thank you guys for watching so much. Thank you guys so much, and have a fantastical day.